Friends, Fever fans, welcome back to another Fever Replay podcast, your home for a weekly breakdown of Fever games and news. This episode, as always, is brought to you by the love of the game. Even when you lose to the Sparks, do it for the love of the game. My name is Chris Ord, and as always, I'm joined by our floor general, Keisha Gallagher. Keisha, how are you doing this week? How was your 4th of July?
It was exciting and such a beautiful display of fireworks all weekend long. How was your 4th?
It was similar. We went to the Indians game here. We saw the fireworks. That's one of our favorite traditions here in Indy, and so that was great. And on the way home, there were just fireworks everywhere. It's fantastic. It was fun. We also had a lot of good basketball this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're going to be mostly talking about today. In fact, we're going to focus in on those Fever games. That was kind of my idea for the pod. So we're not going to necessarily talk specifics about games, although we had two really good ones. We're going to focus in more on the defense, right? Because first off, we had two games, if you include the Commissioner's Cup game, and then the game versus the Aces, where we had absolutely elite level defense. How elite, you ask? Well, the last time a team held back-to-back opponents under 60 points was 22 years ago. Crazy. 22. Caitlin Clark. A Caitlin Clark amount of years ago. So that was pretty exciting. And trust me, we're going to talk about that today as we kind of dig into the defense. But then we saw something else versus the Sparks. Not elite defense. The Sparks are better than their record shows. That's a fact. But their record is very bad. The Sparks had only had 5 other wins, and one of those was also us. So not great. And we did not play them well on defense. I felt like that was a winnable game. And I also felt like we didn't necessarily just kind of let it go. Like, we've been having fourth quarter woes. I don't think that is what happened. There were like 4 separate times, especially when I rewatched the game, where we could have taken the lead at the end. And we played them tough. We never gave up, and the shots just didn't go in. Like, one of those was a Kelsey Mitchell left-handed layup, which, like, I want her to take that every single time. Like, I don't regret it at all that it didn't go in. And another was an AB, like, short jumper. Like, she's great at those. Like, these were shots that could have gone in but didn't. We played super tough defense in those last couple minutes. I'm not super disappointed, but I do feel like this was an example of our defense kind of breaking down. So before we kind of dive into that defensive side, did you have any kind of thoughts that you wanted to share about the end of that Sparks game?
Yeah, I also think there's a lot more opportunity for movement when Aaliyah Boston touches the ball, and there was interesting rotations in the last couple games, especially against the Sparks, where I felt like Boston wasn't on the floor as often as she normally is. And not that I don't adore Natasha Howard, but I think there's more success when Boston's on the floor, because you have to decide, are you going to let her shoot or are you going to attack her? And if you attack her, who are you going to leave open? And is that person going to be cutting to the basket? She just causes a lot of chaos when we get that ball into her hands. And I think there was more opportunities for that against the Sparks, definitely. And then they had a lot of second chance opportunities that were due to poor management of where we were taking those last few fouls as well. I don't know what really was the thought process behind some of the last couple fouls. I was thinking more of Natasha Howard jumping up and almost raining down on Rakia Jackson. I just thought that those were odd choices when we were still up.
I agree with that. Speaking of just the rotation, these last two games, I am once again going to sing Timpson's praises. KK was incredible. Before when I talked about her last pod and this time, I really want to clarify why I'm so excited. And it's not like because she's the standout player, like she's amazing, like, she should start or anything like that. But to see a rookie get to play real minutes, not be a huge liability, but actually help a fair amount while developing, that's just like bonkers amazing as far as
That's
I'm
a dream. Yeah.
because we want to develop this young player. And if we can do that without like actually hurting the team really at all, and she had some really quality minutes the last two games.
Huge block.
Fantastic. So that's why I'm so excited about KK Timpson, even though she's honestly the worst person on our team that's playing right now. Like that's a fact. But besides that, she's developing with real minutes and like actually producing right now, which is just if any team could have that, they would be so excited, and we do, and it's great. And that block, now if you viewers at home, listeners, if you haven't seen the block, go ahead and look it up because that rookie,
It's gonna
that
be
little
haunting.
rookie.
Rakia Jackson.
Yes, it will be. It was fantastic. So with that, let's dive into the defense. Keisha, what do you think is working on this defense? Because things are working. When we set out in the beginning, Stephanie White talked about wanting to have a defensive team. Like, that's what we're going to be first and foremost. She came into an offensive team and said, I want to set up our defense. That's what we're working on. And clearly that is coming to a head at this point in the season. The defense is maturing in a big way. So what do you see that's working?
Well, I think if you look, kind of pivoting to the Aces win, even though we weren't able to shut down Asia Wilson, which is always the goal, we were able to pretty much shut down anyone that was an ace that wasn't Asia Wilson. The defense was really firing on all cylinders when it came to ball pressure, forcing uncomfortable shots, and if they were getting looks, they were so used to being off kilter or obscured that they weren't even hitting easy shots. So all of that pressure really built up over time and kept the Aces, I think, on bad footing for all 4 quarters of that game. Coming back to the Sparks, though, opportunities there would have been the matchups against some of these bigs were just not right. And they got caught sometimes a little bit asleep. There were a lot of opportunities for us to switch a guard for a post that didn't happen. There was one key point where Kelsey Plum shot directly in Natasha Howard's face. And I don't know why Natasha Howard was guarding Kelsey Plum. Not that she can't, but with this roster, that's not who I want guarding Plum. So those type of decision, those need to be tweaked a little more fine-tuned for everyone that the Fever's going to see, because each team does have its unique set of threats and weaknesses. And with the Sparks, there was just so much height to compete with at every level.
I feel like what really works is when we're able to set up our defense. If we are kind of the aggressors on the defense, it's great. Like when we were doing full court press, I never saw a time that it wasn't effective. Mm-hmm. When there were often times that we've been seeing a lot more now. We're trapping the ball handler in the corner, and that seems very intentional. Mm-hmm. Not like, oh, look, they're stumbling. Like it was, we're the ones that are initiating and creating these problems that we're forcing the offense to solve. And I feel like that's clearly where we're more effective, and you didn't see that as much. You saw it in spurts. Like I said, it wasn't a terrible game versus the Sparks. We should have beat them. That's the worst part. But the Sparks, kind of just at the end of the game, were able to execute in times that we weren't. Was kind of just what that game came down to. The other thing that's a highlight, and like this is right off of the stats, is that we're the number one team as far as limiting 3 pointers. And I feel like that you can watch that in game. Like, we're closing out hard. We're closing out with our hands up. The other team knows it. They're not getting easy shots. They're going to have to shoot contested shots. And it's really, really easy to even have, like, be working hard on defense, but to not close out every time.
Right.
And our team is clearly decided that they're always going to. And their hands are going to be up. And they're not making, it easy on the screener. They're not making it easy on the ball handler. It's really fantastic to see. You can tell in all three of these games this week, the Commissioner's Cup, the Aces, and the Sparks, that the other team was like annoyed that they had to put up with us. And that's like a fantastic place to be as a defense. If the other team like is looking at the film and is like, we have to put up with these people for 40 minutes. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, you're already halfway winning as a defense if you're able to do that. Yeah. Can you hear the thunder?
Oh, yeah. I heard that.
So I apologize if you can hear thunder throughout this podcast, but we're in a crazy thunderstorm right now where I am. And we lost power for like an hour. So we'll see if we can get through this podcast. Hopefully we can. Just a little added drama there.
I think there was just there were moments where, despite having the lead, there were those breakdowns in defense where it seems like they were able to do a lot of cuts or a lot of passes, and it didn't really seem, again, like we were on the right footing. There weren't hands up in the passing lanes. There wasn't really a lot of communication, and with the different rotations coming through, I think that does make sense, but that is something that we can't have continue going into the next half of the season, these next few games. So, yeah, a lot of really big learned skill sets coming from the Lynx and the Aces, but we see going into the Sparks, a team we've lost to before, we still have these areas that we need to polish when it comes to lineups that don't 100% match up player for player. I think that was the big struggle there. The fouls that were getting called were against guards and post players who there's a pretty big size differential.
Yeah. I do feel like when we switching over to kind of like what's not working with the defense, the most glaring thing for me is exactly what you're saying. If we can keep the ball in the front quarter of the court, then we're doing fantastic. That's where we want them. We want to keep them outside of that 3-point line. Mm-hmm. And we seem to be able to bump and pressure people and like swipe at the ball and cause all sorts of problems to kind of like make that penetration difficult. But it feels like once they are past that first line and they're heading to the paint, it's kind of money. Like, it just feels like if you're able to get past there, you're fine. Like, Asia could do that on her own. Asia has everything necessary to get a foot in the paint. And so if you can get past that, then you're going to do great against us, is kind of what I was saying. Like, the Sparks, for instance, we're, over the last couple weeks, the number one team on points in the paint. And then the number two is the Sparks. So, like, it's telling that these people that were kind of almost giving up on the three, like, we're not going to focus on it. If you give us an open one, we'll take it. But we're just going to be driving and cutting. That's all we're doing. That was something we had difficulty stopping.
Yeah. And I think with the Sparks, they have a really interesting problem with the amount of post players that they have, because they're not playing. It's kind of similar to New York, where you have, like, Breonna Stewart, Jonquil Jones, and even Phoebich. Like, they're not playing true post positions. Those are all just really big, extra big guards, really. And the Sparks kind of have that same sort of lineup where Jerica Hamby can play outside. She can bring the ball up. Rikia Jackson has a really great outside jump shot. And, I mean, Azrae Stevens, UConn phenom, she can shoot all over the floor. She's great inside. So that's really hard to match up against when you have a more true center like Boston and Howard bouncing around against all of those bigs. Like, Howard can play a 4 and a 5, but that height was just a real big challenge. So those opportunities still to figure out, is that what a zone looks like? Is that when we need to go, should we be putting in all of our bigs? Should we be trying to match up by height? I think we have to try a little bit more different approaches there.
Also, someone that got really exposed last game, and this is the first time, this is like new for me to say anything negative about Arie McDonald. But she was super getting exposed. And I think when you look at why, the other two teams that we just played really well against, the people she was covering, and she's great at kind of defending the perimeter, just like we've been saying. But if you're trying to, get around her and drive to the basket, her defense breaks down. She kind of gets caught off guard. She's trying to chase from behind. She ends up fouling a lot. And as soon as that pit bull known as Kelsey Plum figured that out, she was like, oh, you're the person that got cut from our team. I remember that. You were with us like in the summer. Fun, cool. Let me destroy you now. That was like her whole game plan as soon as that was figured out. And I don't think that's like, Arie's unplayable now, but we do need to either work on that or support that or not have her be the point of attack defender in those situations. Like, I still think she's fantastic with her drive, and she even took away the ball from Kelsey Plum at the end of the game that could have gave us the victory. Like, she did half of the play needed to get us the win. And then the second half was making the basket, which we didn't do. So it's like, it wasn't a complete lost cause, but that part of the defense really showed that Arie kind of is a little bit outclassed in that section of her game.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's just she just joined the team. Like, the timeline on this is also crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Her timeline is insane. They said, remember, she's played 7 games. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
In the NBA, that's a series of playoff basketball. That's how long she's played. One series.
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that it is those 2 games. This week was a really good way to see where we've really improved over this first half of the season and where we're still lacking. And I think that's the takeaway going into this next half, especially because there's going to be a lot of focus on the All-Star game and the All-Stars listed. But this is really that final push where if you're injured and you're not healthy at this point, who knows what your playing time's going to look like? Who knows what that's going to look like? So if people aren't coming back within this next week, I think that's going to be really concerning for those teams who are seriously pushing for those top spots, looking to go into playoffs.
Speaking of that, we have an injured player, and I'm very curious. I do feel like what we're seeing is the maturing of all of the work that Stephanie White has been asking the team to put in. Dismantling the team, saying, we're defensive now. What does that look like? Creating all of these habits and the discipline that we're seeing, bear crazy amounts of fruit. We're seeing that, and it's great. The question on everyone's mind is, how do you think Caitlin Clark is going to fit into this? So, one thing we know, we've seen a very good sample size this year of no Caitlin and with Caitlin. And so on average, we score 10 more points with Caitlin. So it kind of feels like the easy answer is, we're just going to be better on offense. And the defense will hopefully just stay the same, But is that what's going to happen, Keisha? What's going to happen, Keisha?
I'm curious to know, and I haven't actually personally looked at that stat, but I'm curious to know what the turnover difference is with Caitlin out and what the assists are looking like as a team when she's out. I think that with the type of injury she has, they're going to want to be super cautious. This is only her second year as a pro, so there really is no reason to rush. Maybe if she was a little bit
doing well, which it is. So the team is inarguably doing well right now.
Right, and if it was like closer to some sort of playoff decision, maybe that's something you have to reconsider, because you do want to have your best players out there. You want your best chance of continuing on, but also the health and wellness of these players has to be critical, especially someone like Caitlin Clark, who you're relying on to build a team around long term, I would imagine. I see, like, right now, it's almost like there's two different types of Fever teams that are being worked on, because I'm sure behind the scenes she has to be training at some level, and I'm sure they just don't want anyone to know where she's at, because that information being, kept close to the vest is gonna keep everyone guessing up until each game leading up to, game time decision. As anyone who's playing fantasy basketball, it's a horrible status to see next to any player, but
right. But that's why they do it, because not just the fantasy people are looking.
But I'm curious.
I mean, they've said, I know that Stephanie said, if we want her to play without a minutes restriction, we're going to sit her. Like, that's what she said in regards to the last time they made the decision versus the Sparks, which makes it feel like, okay, Caitlin could be playing right now. If we needed to rush her, if this was the playoffs, we could put her in. Which is, like, it's good to hear, but I mean, the thing is, like, at least Caitlin Clark is what we know about her, she's a very intelligent player. She is a team player. Like, she's someone who thrives off of getting her team going. More so, you might even say, than scoring. She loves scoring. But you'll see her, like, when she's, like, cruising, what she's doing is distributing the ball, Those are things that could help her fit into this team. And it's not like she hasn't been watching. She's been sitting there on the side of part of these big successes. She knows what this team currently looks like. And I just hope and pray, literally, me and the children, every day, hope and pray that Caitlin Clark's just going to fit right in there. But I'm nervous. I can't say that I'm not nervous about it.
Well, I also feel like at the start of the season, it wasn't really clear. Is Kelsey Mitchell transitioning out of playing the one? Is Caitlin going to be bringing the ball up? Are they swapping? I think that was also something that was kind of still developing when she did get hurt. Is she going to be the true one? What's Sid's role going to look like?
Kelsey has not been playing the one.
Right.
At all. It's pretty much been Sid and Ari. So it feels like that's kind of almost decided at this point.
But is that because of Caitlin? Because Caitlin also likes to get that set shot. So having her not necessarily be the one sometimes, I don't know. And it's also, if they double team her, there's just a lot of things that come into play. So I wonder what that looks like.
But also having Ari, I'm interested to see Ari and Caitlin play together.
Right.
Because that would give her those off-ball minutes that we do try to look for a lot of reasons. One, it gives her a little rest out there. Two, she plays great off the ball. So why not have one of your best shooters out there getting to make open shots? That's fun. Everybody likes that. All right. Well, this was a very, very, very exciting week of Fever basketball. That Aces win felt almost as good as the Commissioner's Cup win. Because, I don't know about you, I was kind of like, oh, maybe they're going to come out a little flat, literally hungover, possibly. Who knows? They made a lot of money. I saw this one stat. It was talking about how Ari makes $53 in her contract because it's, less than the minimum because there's a partial year. So then if you look at her winnings, including, the crypto and everything, it was that almost doubles her salary for the year. Crazy.
I did see that as well. Yeah, I think that's
crazy.
I think having that information surrounding these next few weeks, also with all of the CBA negotiations, we have got to do better. We have got to do better.
I was explaining to my children that, and they're like, 53,000? They're like, wait, what do you make? And I'm like, more than that, son. I'm like, if both of us were Ari McDonald, we couldn't afford the life we live. Like, who knows what she does on that? I mean, I assume she's playing somewhere. I kind of explain them. They have to have some other job, whether it's basketball or something else. They have to have
Yeah.
another job to like support a normal lifestyle, not a lavish lifestyle, which I do not live, just for the record. A very normal American
Put
lifestyle.
down that caviar. Why are you drinking champagne during the pod?
Okay, so yeah, it was fun, great, and even like I said, the loss versus the Sparks stings, but honestly, the Sparks are playing well. We fought really hard. It was a tough game. So this week we have on Wednesday playing the Valkyries for a nooner. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'll have to watch a replay of that one. We got Friday versus the Atlanta Dream, because why not? We've already played them, like 20 times already this year? And then on Sunday, we're playing the Wings. So what are your thoughts on those three games? What's Keisha's scouting report?
Yeah, I mean, just brief highlights. Valkyrie are having a pretty decent starting season for that team. I'm really impressed with the coaching and the players. They've had a lot of rough weeks, especially with some recent cuts. But I feel like they are hungry and they're determined. They still have kind of a rotating set roster. Nothing's quite yet set, and especially with the loss of Van Loo recently, I'm curious to see what that's going to look like. But they have some big names, so that's going to be competitive, and that's going to be a fast-paced game if everyone is healthy at that point. And then we have the Dream for, what was that, the 20th time? Because we only ever play the Dream, right? So we're familiar with them. You know,
Yes,
Jordan
we are.
Canada, you know Ryan Howard, you know Brittany Griner and Brianna Jones. You're going to see Naz Hillman. You're going to see Alicia Gray. It's outside shooting. It's bigs inside. They love a high-low. We're very well manned to be playing pretty competitively against them. This is going to be another big factor of offensive rebounds and not turning the ball over, because they will fast break. Jordan Canada is back, 100% healthy, and she is smooth with it. And then the Wings, Paige is healthy. Caitlin should be healthy. This is the game people will be having a lot of opinions about for the rest of the year, I'm sure. So both of them are still coming off of injury. The Wings also have had some injured players. We'll see. Dejanay Carrington's been injured. They've had some interesting cuts and pulls, but they do have Enrique. McGowan's going to be back from her European League activities, so it's there's a lot of big talent on that team as well, where everyone else is out. Health-wise, game time decisions. We will all have to wait and see.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And thank you guys for continuing to join us on the Fever Replay podcast. We're thrilled every week to find out that people want to be here with us. So thanks for doing that. We will see you next week with another breakdown of the always exciting Indiana Fever. We hope that you all had a good 4th of July weekend, that everyone was safe. And we just hope that your game time decisions in your life all work out for the best, whatever that means. Anyway, thank you, and we'll see you next week on Fever Replay.
Bye.